to prevent my birth, and to keep her title as the most beautiful woman in the world. My fifth aunt forced 3 months of scorching sun upon us, but I was born anyway. Not only did I threaten her title as the supreme beauty, but even more infuriatingly, the man my mother loved but could never have in her youth, ended up with me. My family has a well-known secret. Since the day she was born, my mother has been bound by a curse. It is said that whenever the beauty ranking of the 4 seas and 8 deserts is revealed, the top 3 beauties on it will perish instantly. At first, my parents were fearless. With my mother's looks, staying off the top list for hundreds of thousands of years wasn't a problem. However, just as my parents were joyfully welcoming their first child, a ranking appeared out of thin air by the bedside. The floating beauty ranking of the 4 seas and 8 deserts, in the position of the number 1 beauty, was the name of my newly named eldest brother, Yu Chu. My parents were a bit stunned, but they didn't take it too seriously, until they had their second child. The ranking appeared in midair once again. The number 1 spot was now my second sister, Yu Zhong. This time, my father truly panicked. He moved out of their shared bedroom overnight. Whenever the sun set beautifully, they would merely gaze at each other from across the corridor, bidding a reluctant farewell. Eventually, they were forcibly kept apart by my eldest brother and sister. Though both were so starved for affection their eyes turned green. At least their lives were guaranteed to be safe. The trouble started during my second sister's coming-of-age banquet. My father dug up from beneath a tree a jar of newer Hong wine that had been buried for 4,000 years. The family of 4 drank until they lost all reason, getting completely trashed. Those who should have stayed apart forgot to do so, and those who should have stopped them forgot to pull them away. The next morning, the 2 woke up face to face, releasing 2 terrified screams. My eldest brother and sister, one with disheveled hair, the other without shoes, came running in a hurry, pushing open the door to see the scene in the room. They immediately joined the army of screamers. The family's cries rose and fell, as if they were about to blow the roof off the house. In the end, all 4 were left with hoarse voices, unable to utter a single clear sound. After a long silence, my father was the first to act, taking out paper and ink. With a trembling hand, he wrote, "Don't panic yet. Maybe nothing will happen." The other 3 looked at father, nodding with eyes full of agreement and hope, until my mother's belly began to show. My brother said maybe the food has been too good lately, and mother just got fat. After the 4 of them switched to a vegetarian diet for a while, my mother's belly still grew as fast as a balloon being inflated. Mother looked at her husband and 2 children, crying her heart out. She comforted them through her tears, saying, "It's okay. I've lived for over 100,000 years, and I met my husband, and had you 2 kids. It's worth it. If I must die, let me die. Only, from now on, you must learn to take care of yourselves. If you're gone, I won't live either. Yeah, if mother is gone, I'm done too." My second sister started running to bash her head against the courtyard tree. The terrified family members rushed to hold her back, sobbing and shouting, "Why did mother have to get pregnant again? The second beauty of the realm. Aren't you afraid for the new sibling's life?" My sister has a point. Yu Chu began to run toward the begonia tree instead. My parents each had to grab 1 child, dragging them back into the house by force. For the next 3 months, my parents were either stopping their kids from hitting a tree, or were on their way to stop them from hitting a tree. Finally, physically and mentally exhausted, my father slammed a bowl of abortion medicine solemnly onto the table. "I know you can't bear to do this, but for the sake of our family, just drink it. Oh, my child, don't blame your parents for being cruel. It is better for you to go alone than for all 5 of us to go together." Mother drank the medicine with tears in her eyes. But after waiting for a few days, nothing happened. From then on, it was a bowl of medicine every night. But mother's belly grew larger every day. The siblings tried to die once a day, and wrote 1 suicide note per day. Amidst such chaotic days, the time finally came for my mother's delivery. In a heavy and tense atmosphere, I was born. My mother closed her eyes, waiting for the judgment of fate. 1 stick of incense passed. 2 sticks of incense passed, until the moon hung high in the sky, and I began to wail from hunger. Only then did the 4 of them snap out of it. Does this mean mother is still only the 3rd beauty? Does it mean mother won't die? With tears in his eyes, father pulled me into his arms. Later, at my coming-of-age banquet, my father told me this whole story. I nodded in understanding, then raised my hand to stop the god of wine. "You'd better not drink this wine. Secondly, I have a few questions." I first turned to my sister and brother. "Back then, you 2 wanted to commit suicide just to free up a spot on the beauty list?" The 2 nodded. The 2 of them nodded together. "Then why didn't you just cut your own faces?" "Oh, that was an option too?" I then asked my father. "Those abortion medicines back then, what recipe did you use to brew them?" I went down to the mortal realm and grabbed a doctor, and had him write a prescription for me. "Do mortal prescriptions even work on immortals?" My father suddenly realized the flaw. I was wondering why a bowl a day had no effect. A bowl a day didn't work, and it never occurred to you to change the recipe? Or just give up entirely? My father chuckled. Your mother said it tasted pretty good, so I just kept brewing it for her every day. And who exactly cast that curse on mother? Who brought that news to our home? My parents looked at each other in silence. I sighed helplessly. The beauty of these 4 people truly was traded for their brains. At my suggestion, the 5 of us decided to split up into 4 routes, starting by searching for clues across the 4 seas. Then your father and I will go to the North Sea. It's been many years since I've been back, and I miss it terribly. You 2 go elsewhere. Why? Because I cast a divination for myself. My destiny still lies in the North Sea. So, I am going there. My mother wondered when I had learned divination, but she nodded and said helplessly, fine, whoever has the brain makes the rules. My mother is from the North Sea, so the origin of everything must be there. She was originally a red koi fish from the North Sea. The koi tribe has a custom. That is, every koi will attempt to leap over the dragon gate at their coming-of-age ceremony, but for nearly 100,000 years, no koi had ever succeeded. As the only red koi, in 100,000 years, she and the Dragon King of the North Sea, Qin Yuan, were considered a match made in heaven. Therefore, great hopes were placed upon her, but my mother was naturally carefree, and lazy in her cultivation, devoted entirely to eating, drinking, and having fun. She was so worried she couldn't sleep at night. Her best friend, by Xin, comforted her, saying it was fine. It's normal that you can't sleep at night. It's because you sleep too well during the day. My mother suddenly understood. Until later, at the coming-of-age ceremony, her best friend, by Xin, leaped over that dragon gate against all expectations. She instantly transformed into a white dragon, and asked the Dragon King Qin Yuan for the position of side consort. After that, my mother's heart completely died. She applauded her friend with tears in her eyes by the dragon gate. And on the day of her own ceremony, she ran away with a small bundle on her back, leaving only a note saying she was going out for experience. In reality, she was just too lazy to even try the leap. And on this journey of experience, she met my father, the manifestation of the Fuxi Mountain forest. The 2 fell in love at first sight, and returned to Fuxi Mountain together, staying there for tens of thousands of years. I traveled nonstop for 3 days, and finally arrived at a city near the North Sea. Looking up at the dark clouds, with lightning flashing down from time to time, I felt very confused. In my mother's description, the North Sea should be a place of peace, not full of shrimp soldiers and crab generals, patrolling the streets like this. So, I immediately decided to wait until dark to enter. I squatted on the nearest hilltop outside the city, boredly counting lightning strikes while waiting for nightfall, and pulled some spirit fruit out of my pocket. The fruit from our mountain really is the best. I devoured several in one go. As I raised the last fruit to my mouth, a voice came from the tree behind me. Wait. A man was perched on a branch. He wore a white brocade robe, embroidered with silver dragon patterns. Clearly a wealthy man. But his face, as handsome as white jade, carried a hint of exhaustion and distress. He looked like a wealthy man who had fallen on hard times. He jumped down from the branch, looking at the fruit with eyes, as clear as a mountain spring, filled with longing and bashfulness. Being used to such handsome men, I wasn't surprised. Instead, I moved the fruit even closer to my mouth. I took another bite. The man's eyes widened, with an expression that looked like his heart was breaking. Do you want to eat? His eyes lit up. He nodded at me somewhat sheepishly. My fruit must be traded for answers to my questions. Are you willing? He nodded without hesitation. I handed him the fruit. The sky is full of dark clouds and lightning, and there are shrimp and crab soldiers all over the city. What are they doing? The man in white curled his lip. They are looking for someone. Looking for who? The son of the Dragon King. The Dragon King's son is lost? He's not lost. He ran away from home. And why did he run away? A trace of loneliness flashed in his eyes. Maybe he realized that his very birth was perhaps a mistake. I wanted to ask for more details, but this person's simple-mindedness was so similar to my family members that I felt an instant connection, so I decided to let it go. The remaining questions could wait until I entered the city and the sea, to explore slowly. My name is Umo. What's yours? I'm called Qin Yen. Wow. With that surname, I couldn't guess at all that he was the son of North Sea Dragon King Qin Yuan. I just realized that the hilltop we were on must be some kind of spiritual mountain. The short grass and trees were all emitting white light, making Qin Yan's entire presence look as if he were glowing among the crowd. I didn't forget the purpose of my trip, and decided to take Qin Yan into the city with me. Otherwise, if he wandered outside for a few more days, he'd probably start eating tree bark. It's dark, and the lightning has stopped. Let's sneak into the city in the dark. You go find something to eat, and I'll go ask around. Enter the city? I thought to myself, what a ditz. With shrimp and crabs patrolling by day, didn't it occur to him to enter the city at night for food? It's lucky he met someone as kind-hearted as me. So I nodded, reached back to grab his arm, and flew toward the gates of the undersea city. Wait a minute, wait a minute. I can't wait. But it's too bright. What's bright? The lightning has stopped. We're almost there, keep quiet. But as soon as we flew over the undersea wall and landed, the halberds of the shrimp and crab soldiers were already at our necks. Quickly report to the Dragon King. The prince has been found. I was shocked, wondering what had gone wrong. I turned to look at Qing Yan beside me. He looked solemn and tragic. In the middle of the darkness, Qing Yan was glowing brilliantly from chest to toe. This man's inner robe was actually covered in night pearls. On the way to the Dragon Palace, I looked at Qing Yan with a face full of questions. You said you were running away. So why did you bring so many night pearls? Are you afraid they won't find you? Don't you need traveling money for running away? Otherwise, what would I eat, drink, or wear? Then why were you squatting on the mountain, with dirt on your hem, hungry and miserable? Qing Yan blinked his reddened eyes. But during the day, the city was full of lightning and searches. And at night, I was covered in night pearls. I was silent for a moment, staring at him like he was an idiot. Then why didn't you leave the rest on the mountain? Hide one, and then enter the city to pawn it? Oh, that was an option too? I looked up at the sky. Great. It's the same logic I'm familiar with. In the undersea dragon palace, the Dragon King sat in the hall. Qing Yan stood below, his neck stiff and head turned away. Dragon King Qing Yuan finally lost his patience. He slapped the armrest of his throne. You brat. Where did you go? Looking at his unlucky son below, who was turning red from huffing at him, he didn't even want to argue anymore. Forget it, forget it. You're an adult now. Within the North Sea jurisdiction. Go wherever you want. Just don't suddenly run off for experience now that you're grown. And then get kidnapped. By some random immortal. I caught some information that sounded like it was about my mother. And quietly raised my head. But I was suddenly pulled over by Qing Yan. I'm going to run away with this immortal right here. The moment the North Sea Dragon King looked up at me, his eyes widened involuntarily. The king noticed the queen's displeasure, and promptly shut his mouth. I slowly edged away, not wanting this family smoke to reach me. Xiao Yan, why did you run away from home? Watching his mother's eyes turn red. I don't want to stay here anymore. I want to be somewhere where there is love. Saying this, he grabbed me again, shouting at his father. I'm going to run away with this immortal right here. Then he looked at the queen mother. Mother, why don't you come with us? The queen looked confused, slowly shifting her gaze to my face. I was panicking. No, 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 it's not me, I didn't. The Dragon King slapped the throne again, finally swearing, what is wrong with this dragon cub? Running away from home? It's fine if you leave, but instead of bringing back a wife, you're running away with someone else. It's fine if you run away yourself, but you're trying to kidnap my wife too? Why don't you just go to heaven? You want to go to heaven? Go then. No sooner said than done. As soon as the words left his mouth, a fierce roar erupted beside me. While Qing Yan was talking, he prepared to transform into his dragon form, and soar into the 9 heavens. The queen hurriedly told the soldiers to stop him, but they were all trembling under the dragon's roar, not daring to approach. The Dragon King on the throne, seeing his son's defiance, also let out a dragon cry, and began to transform. The queen was quick, grabbing the green dragon's tail, and pulling it down. I followed her lead, also grabbing Xiao Yan's dragon tail, and pulling it down. I have to say, the tip of this dragon tail felt surprisingly bouncy. It was quite nice to squeeze. The queen gave a sharp look, and the Dragon King quietly returned to human form on his throne. Not speaking another word, the queen let out a long breath, and turned to look at me. Thank you. You're welcome. As the two women exchanged friendly smiles, Qing Yan spoke with a red face, Amo. Can you let go of my tail first? I looked to the side. Xiao Yan, back in human form, had left a single tail out, which was still in my hand. I quickly let go. Sorry. The texture was just too good. I forgot for a second. Qing Yan shyly tugged at my arm. Maybe you should just keep holding it. It actually feels quite good. I looked at the somewhat dazed Qing Yan in shock. The innocence in his eyes made it hard for me to refuse. As if possessed, I reached out a trembling hand, under his encouraging gaze, and grasped his tail again. Qing Yan let out a long sigh of relief, but the Dragon King and Queen above us simultaneously gasped in shock. If I say, we just met today, would you believe me? The Dragon King and Queen's eyes moved to where my hand overlapped with Qing Yan's tail. Seeing that I was looking too, a naive and shy smile appeared on his face. If you want to squeeze it, you can squeeze it. Just like before, the Dragon King and Queen's gaze returned to my face. Help. It was just now. Why did he say before? Though just now technically counts as before too. Even if I jumped into the North Sea now, I'd never be able to clear my name. However, I was indeed partly to blame for this situation. The fruit I gave him on the hilltop earlier The one I ate at the last moment is called the truth fruit. The person who eats it will blur out whatever is on their mind. Without thinking. The effect goes from mild to severe. When we first entered the palace, he could still resist with silence. Now that it's kicked in, his brain is purely for decoration. As for the wedding arrangements, the Dragon King has 3 things to say. First, it must be grand, but not grander than my own wedding. Second, there must be a holiday, but not longer than the one I had. Third, the whole realm must be notified. But on the invitations, the Queen's name and mine must be written in small print. Qin Yan currently found his father irritating, so he opposed all his decisions. No, I don't want the wedding here. I want to be a live-in son-in-law. I didn't know whether to object to the Dragon King's wedding plans first, or Qin Yan's live-in son-in-law comment first. Whatever. Things were already far beyond my control. The two of them argued for ages, without ever hitting on a main point. Father and son were just enjoying the chaos, watching her husband and son act like fools. The Queen happily ate melon seeds, and even invited me to join her. The effect of the spirit fruit usually lasts for 3 hours, reaches its peak in the 2nd hour, and begins to fade from the 3rd hour. What I needed to do was just wait. When the argument escalated to personal dragon attacks, your claws are weak. Your scales aren't shiny enough. I felt the tail tip that had reached over from the next chair, and was resting in my palm, suddenly jerk back. I thought to myself, he's awake. His mother said, "Oh? You're awake?" Xiao Yan's eyes darted around awkwardly. He reached for the melon seeds, but his mother slapped his hand away. "Now that you're awake, get over here. You're an adult now, you think you're so brave, daring to run away from home?" Exactly. Qin Yan pouted, looking at his mother with resentful eyes. "Mother, why are you only scolding me? You said father's brain doesn't work. Does mine not work either?" The Dragon King nodded on the side. Exactly. His wife always takes his side. It was enough to piss that brat off. Xiao Yan fell silent for a moment and didn't argue anymore. He stood up and followed the shrimp soldiers to reflect on his actions. I was about to stand up and follow him too, thinking to myself, the Queen really knows how to manage her family. Seeing me rise, the Queen spoke, "Amo. Stay for a moment." I paused. The Queen continued, "If I'm not mistaken, you are Aheng's daughter." "I am by Xian. I grew up with your mother." Seeing the Queen's hesitation, I added, "Best friend? My mother mentioned that. You, your majesty, are her best friend." The Queen's eyes lit up, and her expression relaxed significantly. "Don't call me Queen. Just call me Aunt Bai. If you're Aheng's daughter, did she ever mention me to you?" She even leaned forward, looking my face up and down with confusion. "You don't look like Aheng." I silently leaned back a bit. Smiling, I said, "I look like my father." I skipped over her next question, and looked at her. "Aunt Bai, you must have met my father then?" Bai Xian nodded. The Dragon King was shocked, and looked at his wife. "You've met that wild man who abducted Aheng?" 2 sharp glares flew toward the Dragon King simultaneously. "So silly. Let's go. To my room. We should have a good chat." "Then where do I go?" Bai Xian hadn't forgotten how eager he was just now. When Aheng was mentioned, she didn't even spare him a glance. "Go find a seashell outside to sleep in." And just like that, Bai Xian and I walked toward the hall exit arm in arm. I found that Xiao Yan hadn't left yet. He was currently sitting by the door, his eyes red with grievance. His gaze was fixed on Aunt Bai and me, on our linked arms. He looked up at his mother, eyes full of hurt, then looked at me, eyes full of disappointment. He didn't say anything, turned, and followed the shrimp soldiers away. Aunt Bai looked at his back strangely. "What's wrong with this child? It's just one night of solitary confinement. Why so upset? Being confined at night. Isn't that just sleeping?" But I remembered the evening, and what he had told me on the hilltop. Aunt Bai and the Dragon King. I understood now. A movie of 3 people. I just didn't know which one lost their life in it. I thought for a moment, and told Aunt Bai I needed the restroom. Aunt Bai pointed the way for me. I ran off quickly, and ran back a moment later. I grabbed Aunt Bai's arm and said, "Let's go." When Aunt Bai talked to me about my mother, her eyes were full of smiles. "Your mother was a fool since she was little. She hated practicing. Her cultivation was average, but every time other fish bullied me, she would stand in front of me." "Aunt Bai, did fish bully you when you were little?" "Why?" "Because I had no parents. I was a refugee from another water system. In my original home, a little flower demon who couldn't swim drowned. Later an immortal came, and filled that sea with a nearby mountain. I was the only one in my family who escaped. The North Sea took me in." Aunt Bai didn't look very sad, perhaps because too many years had passed. But I heard from my mother that she had no parents either. Was she not bullied? "Your mother was the only red koi in the world. She was the hope of the carp tribe." As Aunt Bai spoke, her expression was full of pride and faint envy, but not a trace of jealousy. I was a bit confused. But my mother said, "Aunt Bai, you are the only carp in 100,000 years to successfully leap over the dragon gate. You are a once-in-a-100 millennium talent. You are the hope of the carp tribe. I'm no talent. I just practiced hard every day. The legend says it takes 100,000 years for a carp to successfully leap the dragon gate." It was Aheng who gave her fortune to me. I fell silent. I felt that Aunt Bai seemed to have a sort of blind approval of my mother, along with a profound misunderstanding. Although I love my mother dearly, I have to say, since I was born until now, the only cultivation I've seen her do is eat spirit fruits. If she couldn't leap the dragon gate under those conditions, just because of some contract, then the heavens really would be unfair. Seeing Aunt Bai's expression, which wouldn't allow anyone to say a single bad word about my mother, I swallowed my words. That year, I was lured into the poison vine thicket by some black carp. I thought I was going to die there. It was Aheng who found me, and she even got her ankle pricked by a poison vine to save me. Aheng was cute even when she was poisoned, mumbling about being the number one beauty. Number one beauty? Hearing those words, I straightened my posture and listened intently. Then I said, "Yes. You are the number one beauty of the 4 seas and 8 realms." Aunt Bai sank into her memories. The longer the poison lasted, the worse the effect. We 3 had to get out quickly. Aheng was poisoned, so I told him not to hold her neck so tight, or she wouldn't be able to breathe. When Aheng was delirious, she was still mumbling something about Aheng dying on the 3rd. Wasn't she cute? My mouth opened and closed, then closed and opened again. Alright. I knew this whole thing wouldn't be very complicated, but I didn't expect it to be such a huge misunderstanding. But for such a misunderstanding to happen to my mother, it actually seemed quite reasonable. So one question remained. That beauty rank. What was that about? Aunt Bai said she didn't know either. Perhaps because it had been so long since she'd seen anyone related to my mother around her. She pulled me along, talking from my mother's first transformation, to her outing at her coming-of-age ceremony, and then to when she went to find my mother, met my father, was soundly defeated in a duel, and finally could only watch with resentment, as my father took the beauty home. Then why didn't Aunt Bai come to find my mother? Hearing this, the fighting spirit in her eyes faded. I sent her letters, but I never received a reply. I suppose she is still blaming me. Blaming you for what? Blaming me for the night I leapt over the dragon gate at my ceremony, when I proposed to Qing Yuan. She was the only red koi in the world, and Qing Yuan was the only North Sea dragon in the world. They were a match made in heaven. I pondered silently. Perhaps for his next birthday, I should buy my father a hat. Back then, we were both about to become adults. Once we grew up and got married, we couldn't be together every day anymore. But I really didn't want to part from her. So I asked Qing Yuan for the position of secondary wife, so that in the future, we could still be together every day. I weighed Aunt Bai's meaning. So what you meant back then was, I'm not here to break you 2 up, but to join you? Aunt Bai's eyes lit up. Yes, yes. That's exactly what I meant. AMO, you understand me. Who knew that this would make her run away and meet your father instead, and marry so far away? I see. It seems, in the end, the Dragon King of the North Sea was the one who didn't keep his own life. I had endured too much this night. It wasn't until dawn that I tiptoed out of Aunt Bai's room. The Dragon King, Qing Yuan, was right outside the door holding a wall lamp. I nodded to him and tried to walk past. He pulled me back and pointed into the room. Is she asleep? I nodded. The way Qing Yuan looked into the room was actually quite tender, but when he turned to look at me, his eyes were full of clarity, completely different from in the hall earlier. His tone left no room for doubt. I could only clutch my dizzy, sleepy head and follow him with no tears left to cry. We went all the way out of the main hall. The Dragon King found a large seashell and stopped, satisfied. The Dragon King glanced at me faintly and began the second half of the story. It turned out Qing Yuan had taken an interest long ago in that stubborn little koi who started practicing her leaps before dawn every day, whose scales were covered in scars, but who didn't care at all. It was just that she worked too hard. Her world consisted only of rest and Aheng's antics. For many, many years, there was no fortune in her world. They said Bai Xian had disappeared, and they found her together in the poison vine thicket. He then carried the injured Aheng out of there. At the moment of safety, under the whitening sky, Qing Yuan, for the first time, presented himself before the one he loved. Leaping the dragon gate at the coming-of-age ceremony, he knew she would succeed. She was talented and hardworking. He prepared to propose that day, only to be beaten to the punch by Bai Xian. He was ecstatic in his heart. But the next second, Bai Xian asked to be a secondary wife. His face went green, and he stormed off. Afterward, news came that Aheng had run off with some unknown wild god. He ran to Fuxi Mountain to check things out for Aheng. But Fuxi Mountain was some kind of strange place. He circled around the base for 3 months, but couldn't find the way up the mountain at all. He could only return home. Until tens of thousands of years later, he received a message from my mother, saying she was pregnant. Every day in the North Sea, he heard by Xian going on about Ahang this and Ahang that until his teeth ached with annoyance. So he timed it carefully, and also sent out a beauty rank for the 4 seas and 8 realms. Ahang claimed herself as the #1 beauty. He hoped she would come down the mountain to investigate. Instead, what he got was news of her next pregnancy. Another 4,000 years passed, and one night, while he and Bai Xian were drinking to Ahang, they had a few too many. They hit the mark in one go. And just like that, Bai Xian became his queen. And because they were busy organizing the grand wedding, they didn't have time to follow up on Ahang's latest pregnancy. As for the letters between Bai Xian and Ahang, naturally, they were intercepted by him. You're kidding. If Bai Xian's misunderstanding were cleared up, she'd be off to Fuxi Mountain in a heartbeat. Then wouldn't he be left as a grass widower? No way. Qin Yuan added one more point. I really only think of Ahang as a sister. I laughed in my head. Before we parted, I asked him, now that you've told me all this, aren't you afraid I'll write a letter and tell my mother? It's fine, go ahead and tell her. My son is an adult now. Now, wherever Xian goes, I go. I gave him a thumbs up. The word loser remained in my heart. After a sleepless night, I planned to find a place to sleep first. I pulled the hairpin from my hair and tapped the little jade dragon coiled on it with my finger. Qin Yan appeared by my side in dragon form, lowering himself to the ground, gesturing for me to get on. I'd been running in circles around this family all night, and I was exhausted. I didn't stand on ceremony with him, flipped onto his back, and said, I'm sleeping, go slower. He snorted a puff of air in response. The seawater brushed comfortably against my skin, like being immersed in a warm, invisible embrace. Inside, I listened to the faint sound of flowing water and slowly fell asleep. When I opened my eyes again, I was on a small island in the middle of the sea. I felt water droplets falling on my face from time to time. Opening my eyes, I saw Xiaoyan holding wet seaweed, shading me from the noon sun. Seeing me wake up, his eyes lit up. Are you hungry? I nodded. He immediately stuffed the seaweed into my hand. He jumped into the water. Then I'll go catch a couple of fish for us to eat. Xiaoyan's fish grilling skills were quite good. I ate until my stomach was round, lying on the island soaking up the sun. Xiaoyan leaned over. Do you want to eat anything else? How about I grill a couple of Arctic clams for you, or roasted king crab or geoduck? I sat up. I'm full. Xiaoyan looked a bit disappointed. I smiled and said, why are you being so attentive? Xiaoyan's face turned red. I want to thank you. You stayed up all night with my mother last night. I thought his blushing was quite cute, so I decided not to tell him that I actually got the information I wanted too. Then, how about you take me around the North Sea for a few days, as a way of saying thanks? Xiaoyan's eyes lit up again. You got it. A dragon's roar took me straight into the clouds. Then accompanied by my cheers, we dived into the ocean. Treasure hunting in the caves of deep-sea reefs. Catching shrimp in the red coral thickets. Eating seafood whenever we were hungry. Finding a seashell to sleep in whenever we were tired. A few days passed like this. On a night with a beautiful moon, the two of us went back to that small island in the sea. Sitting on the shore, kicking our feet in the water. Are you still not planning to go back? Have you already grown tired of playing? The North Sea is so big. A few days obviously aren't enough. I wanted to ask if you were feeling better. That day, I had just finished my coming-of-age ceremony, and wanted to tell them I was going out to travel, but I heard them talking about the pressure of Ahang from 4,000 years ago, and only then did I find out that my birth was just an accident. I didn't understand how two people who don't love each other could have a child together, but now it seems like that's not how it was. It's so complicated. So, you ran away from home? I actually wanted to go find Ahang to see what she looked like. But after leaving the city, I realized I didn't know where she lived. By the time I thought about going back, the shrimp and crab soldiers were already searching the whole city for me. If I went back on my own after only half a day, it would be so embarrassing. So when I met you, how many days had it been? 5 days. Wow, 5 days. That's so great. That's much more respectable. Xiaoyan nodded. He fell silent for a moment, thinking. Then he whispered, were you being sarcastic just now? Are you making fun of me? I was a bit surprised. He actually figured it out. Seeing this, Xiaoyan looked at me seriously. I know I'm not very smart. I always believe whatever others say. But my mother is very smart. I used to think I took after my father. That my father was a fool like me. But the other day when you were chatting, I realized, father seems to be very smart too. Maybe even smarter. With two smart people, how did they have a fool like me? No one likes a fool, right? How could that be? Your mother likes. Oh, I see. I thought to myself, but I am a kind person. I didn't say it. Looking at Xiaoyan who was dejectedly kicking the water, I thought for a moment. I already sent a message to my parents from here a few days ago. Counting the time, they should be here tomorrow. Xiao Yan looked at me in confusion. Didn't your father say he wouldn't block the contact between your mother and mine anymore? Because you're here? Xiao Yan nodded. I think your temperament is very consistent with my family's. You're very suitable for joining. Xiao Yan, what? Puzzled, what temperament? Good looking, no brain. The temperament of a fool. Xiao Yan wasn't very happy, but didn't want to get angry with me. Only offering a weak counter. I have a brain. I laughed and held his face. What's so important about having a brain? As long as you're good looking, it's fine. Xiao Yan thought for a moment. And nodded. Yeah, that makes sense. I wanted to stand up. Under the moonlight, I leaned over and reached out my hand to him. Then let's run away tonight. On the way he was dragging me toward Fuxi Mountain. Xiao Yan asked me, where are we running to? Fuxi Mountain. As for the mess tomorrow when the Dragon King finds his son is gone and has run off, I'll just have to ask my big brother and second sister to record it for me. After all, abducting a beauty who's out traveling after their ceremony is my family tradition. Falling for a beautiful fool was also a thing much later one day, when Qing Yan suddenly remembered something. Our coming-of-age ceremonies seemed to be around the same time. So who is actually older? After careful calculation and deduction, Xiao Yan is 2 days older than me. Qing Yan was very excited about this, pestering me to call him brother. Looking at his smug and excited eyes, I decided to satisfy him, halfway. I cleared my throat. Brother Yan. That one call used everything I'd learned from years of listening to songs and visiting brothels in the human world. It was incredibly flirtatious and winding. After Xiao Yan heard it, I squinted at him. Xiao Yan was very puzzled. Why do I feel like throwing up? I said coldly, maybe I'm pregnant. Ah? No way, I haven't had enough of our world for 2 yet. I was even more shocked, and a little excited. No way. Could the dragon tribe have some secret technique? Can male dragons get pregnant too? Xiao Yan suddenly realized. Oh, right, I can't get pregnant. Sigh.